Hello, it is April 2019, and this is YouTube video number 5. I would like to share 3 amazing stories with you tonight. The first one is called The Unknown Bike Rider. The second one is called It's a Small World. And the last one is called A Birthday Story. So on to the first story, The Unknown Bike Rider. My book came out in June of 2016. It's called Amazing Grace, for with God nothing shall be impossible. And a few weeks or maybe a month after my book came out, I was on my way to work and there was a bike rider stopped on the road. So I rolled down my window and I asked him if he'd like to read and if he'd like a flyer to my book. So I gave him a flyer. Within a week or two, he had went on my webpage and purchased a book from me. So I mailed it out and sent it to him. Later that year in December, when I was at a store close by to my house, there was a long line of people, and I just casually asked the person in front of me, do you like to read books? And I gave him a flyer to my book. And this person said, I've already bought your book. I was the bike rider this past summer that had purchased your book. So I thought that was pretty amazing that I ran into this bike rider at the store several months later. The second story is called It's a Small World. A few years back, I went on a bus trip down to the Creation Museum and the Ark. There were 2 buses, 50 people on each bus. The person in front of me, I started up a conversation and asked him if he liked to read books. And he said yes. So I handed him my book and the bus headed towards Kentucky. During the trip, he read my book, which only takes a couple hours to read. When we got down to Kentucky, he said that he had gotten a text from his friend, which was also my friend, Dan, down in Arizona. Dan had texted this person and asked him what he was up to, and he told Dan that he was on a bus trip to go see the Creation Museum and the Ark. And Dan had shared with him that his friend Rick, meaning me, which was on that same bus ride. And this person had shared back with Dan that he had just finished reading my life story. So it's a small world. My friend in Arizona, Dan, knew the guy in front of me on this bus trip from Wisconsin down to Kentucky. I thought that was pretty amazing. The last story is called A Birthday Story. So when I was a senior in high school, I ended up sitting next to this gal. Her name was Patty, and I had never met Patty freshman year, sophomore year, or junior year, as far as I know. First time I met her was senior year. So we became friends that fall, and by the time spring came around, we had both discovered that our birthdays were in March, and then we both discovered that our birthdays fell on the same day, and then we must have somehow gone home and told our moms, and I don't know exactly how it came to light, but her mom and my mom were actually roommates in the hospital we were born in back in March of 1966. So 18 years later, we crossed paths as seniors in high school. So fast forward to year 2016 when I turned 50 years old. I reconnected with Patty a little bit after our 50th birthdays, went over there for dinner, and her mom lived with her and her husband. And the idea we came up with, or maybe it was me, was for her to bring her mom over to my mom's house so they could see each other 50 years later. So Patty brought her mom over to my mom's house back in June of 2016, and we had a really nice visit. The 4 of us were reconnected 50 years later. So I thought that was an amazing story that people cross paths, and it's always for a reason. So I hope you enjoyed these stories, and remember, for with God nothing shall be impossible. Thank you for viewing this video, and may God richly bless you.